But anyway, speaking of the Phoenix Suns, let's talk about one Kevin Durant. According to a report from ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, Kevin Durant is reportedly frustrated. This is what from Adrian Wojnarowski. It starts with Kevin Durant. You talk to people in Phoenix and around that organization can feel the frustration with Durant. Part of that is certainly the missed games of Bradley Beal. This team was built around those stars. The underwhelming support that comes from those massive trades for Durant and Bradley Beal that really gutted the organization and left them having a lot of minimum players to fill out the payroll. And then understanding the lack of assets, the draft picks, the trade capital to go out and really improve this team. This is something they're going to have to manage in Phoenix with Kevin Durant. You've seen it before, and it reminds you, it's a stark reminder of how short of a window and how this team has to win big. And they have to win big quickly based on how it was constructed. Having Kevin Durant still play at an all NBA level and a healthy Kevin Durant, there's a lot at stake for this organization. It's got to change soon. Okay, so you heard the report from ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. Champ, Brandon Jennings, he went on his podcast. He suggested, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if he went on Gilbert Arenas' podcast or some other podcast, but he suggested that it's unfair to Kevin Durant, that he should leave. What do you make of the whole news regarding KD?
Well, I'm going to ask. Let me answer that question by posing another to the entire panel of three of it. Haven't we seen this story before?
OG, don't steal my thunder. Don't steal my thunder.
I'm just asking.
Go.
Haven't we seen this story before? And you have to ask yourself this. And I hate to bring another player into this, but if this were LeBron, what would we be saying right now? If this were LeBron, every 2 years, this is like, in the great words of DMX, get locked up every 2 years for 2 years. How many times do we have to hear this story? In Brooklyn, unhappy. Now you're in Phoenix, you're unhappy. I mean, going all the way back to the Golden State, unhappy. You win the championship. So what if they saying that you came into a situation like Golden State? In reality, they came to get you. So, I mean, at that point, you should be sticking your chest out if a championship team come and get you, considering you had them down 3-1. But we've seen this story time and time again. Brooklyn, I'm frustrated. Phoenix, now I'm frustrated again. Now, I understand because of the injuries and everything like that. But again, I mean, it all of this frustration. How many times can one player get traded? We've seen this with James Harden. And if you really want to argue with it, the only difference between James Harden and KD at this point is KD managed to play well throughout all of these grievances that he's had. But if you really want to argue about both of them being malcontents, you could really argue the same. I mean, you punched your ticket out of one place into another, and everybody thought, excuse me, and everybody thought that this was going to be like a dream team. Now, things don't go your way, you're frustrated again. When does it stop?
There you go. Casual?
Damn, you stole my thunder, OG.
My bad, Casual, my bad.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. So a few things that I take from him complaining. One, I think it's funny to me that he's doing this complaining when his situation is not nearly as worse as some of the other teams in the NBA. I think a legit argument can be made if there was ever a season where a star could complain. I think Stephen Curry could come out and complain. I think the situation with Draymond and Klay Thompson not playing up to par, a lot of their questionable trades during the offseason, sort of not panning out to having, necessarily the necessary impact that you would like. I think Stephen Curry could complain. I think to a certain degree, I think Joel Embiid could have complained. Um, even with Tyrese Maxey playing the way he is, I think we all agree that to trade James Harden to the Clippers and to get the pieces that they got, albeit playing fine, I think Joel Embiid could have complained the fact that they didn't bring another star to pair alongside him and Tyrese Maxey. So I think that it's funny that he is always the one that's voicing his frustrations about situations that he in when year after year, like he's not even in the worst position possible. I think Luca could have complained. Doing early in the season when Kyrie was out, I think Luca could have complained. Like a lot of these teams, a lot of these players that are better than him could have complained, but they didn't. So that's one. Two, Kevin Durant. Let's just be honest, everybody. Kevin Durant is a phenomenal player. He is a superstar. He's a top 10 player in the world. He's a phenomenal scorer. He is good at rebounding. After that, what he got? Playmaking? Are you guys moved by his playmaking?
Not so much.
Him as a defender. Are you moved by him as a defender?
At this point, no.
Okay, so what did you expect was going to happen when you're basically on a team where, unless you're LeBron James, there's very little that you could have done to make this outcome any less miserable than it has been so far in these. How many games have they played? So far in these 30 games. What did you expect? What you thought? You thought Grayson Allen was going to turn into the playmaker for you because the chance that you had to develop some type of playmaking ability, you ditched that responsibility so that you could essentially just coast into a championship and let Draymond and Stephen Curry take care of the playmaking duties. So you don't have that development on your side. Defensively, I want everybody to understand he only has 3 years that he's been a positive defensively. Other than that, he's average. Every other time, people love to talk about how Kevin Durant has no weaknesses. This season should explain to you guys why that is just simply not true. Devin Booker had to pick up the slack as a playmaker because Kevin Durant is just not that guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's how bad this situation is. They have a whole bunch of players essentially filling in a role that they're just not they're not meant for. And that's the unfortunate part. That's the unfortunate part. And so when it comes to this situation, I'm looking at Kevin Durant playing phenomenal as a scorer. As a scorer is phenomenal, and even averaging 1.1 blocks that's great. But when you actually watch the Phoenix Suns defensively, he's not good enough. He's just not good enough to impact on that side. And to be respectful, the Phoenix Suns' problem is not the fact that they're lacking in scores. They have Eric Gordon, who still at this point in his career is a solid scorer. They have Yusuf Nurkic, who still at this point in his career is a solid post scorer. They still have Devin Booker. Grayson Allen, from my Bucks, is a good to great 3-point shooter. He's shooting 45% on 5 attempts this year. So they're fine in the scoring category. And KD, not saying that he's not the leader in that sense, the scorer, but after that, what else is he bringing to you? Because it's not the lead facilitator. No, that job goes to Devin Booker. It's not defensively. No, that job goes to Josh Okogie. That job goes to Keita Bates-Diop. That job goes to those guys. All he has to do is score the ball. And again, as I've been saying, in every situation he's been in, it all falls on the fact of that decision he made 7-8 years ago to leave from the Oklahoma City Thunder, where he could have developed into being even more of a potent offensive player. He could have continued to develop as a playmaker. He could have continued to develop as a player to be able to dribble in traffic much more consistently without turning over the ball. He could have did all that. But he chose to go the easy route, and now he's paying the price now.
My thing with the whole KD situation is, what do you expect? You lost some pieces. Devin Book has, to your point, casual, has been taking the load as far as with the passing and the playmaking. So you can't really ask much from Devin Booker. Yeah, KD's still giving you buckets. He's still giving you 30. But outside of that, what is he really giving you? Like, in terms of the decision, the 2016 decision, hey, look, if he felt like he wanted to go elsewhere, that's fine. But to your point, he chose the easy way out. Now he's realizing when he goes somewhere else, it's not as easy as you think. It's a lot more difficult. I just don't know with Kevin Durant at this point, reportedly being frustrated, but we've heard this before. So it's no surprise. It's not an accident. Should we feel sorry? Not really much so. So I think with KD, I don't really. I mean, this is who he is. So I don't really expect much at this point. He's still a great player, still top 10. I have him around 7th, 8th, 9th, between that 7-10 ish range. But I just think he needs to be more reasonable, more rational. Because at this point with Phoenix, they're not competing. They're 17th defensively. They're 17th in the NBA right now at this point. Um, I just think that he just needs to change his expectations and just go from there. But I think with Kevin Durant at this point, it's proven that Golden State, they can succeed with and without him. That's how I feel.